What is going on? Happy Tuesday. Y'all already know what's going down. If it's Tuesday, that means it's another episode of Comic Relief. And you know what? Let's get it. What is going on? What's good, Big Paul? Big homie?
Not much.
Hanging in there?
Chilling.
We got a little lag.
Technical issue.
Couple technical difficulties in here. We've been having some technical difficulties since we started, and now we're having some verbal technical difficulties. You know, but guys, I know there's a lot of people coming in, hanging out. Appreciate everybody coming in the building. We got a very special person hanging out with us today, but unfortunately, he has to stay backstage for a little while. I don't know what's going on. There's just, some algorithm issues we're having, but it's just gonna have to be a little time before we bring our special guest on. We're gonna have to keep him backstage for a little while. So Paul, how you doing? How you feeling, brother?
Doing this weather, this cold weather.
I hear you,
Can
brother.
you hear me?
You sound like Darth Vader a little bit.
Let me
you know what? I guess we got no other choice, due to the technical difficulties. We have to relinquish the backstage and open the door, get the curtain and bring in the brother, the one and only, the homie, John Comics with Kids. What's going on, my brother? How you doing?
Hey, I was hanging out at Club No Good. It's hard to get in there. I was that place is bumping, and the bouncer's hard, man. They're hard to get past those guys.
You can't mess with those guys, man. They make good money there. They're not trying to lose that job.
Yeah, they'll straight arm you if you go through that little gate there. They got the little chain up. Yeah, you go down.
What's going on, John? How you doing? Thank you for hanging out with us, coming on today. How you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling good. Happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays, man. You saw I put the little lights on the little thumbnail there.
I saw that.
I gave a little Christmas spirit for you.
I was at my LCS today buying a couple of Christmas presents for different people that I know that love comics in my family. So make sure they get a little comic book love this holiday.
That's what's up. That's what's up, man. So we got 7 people. Change that. 6 people now hanging out with us. And shout out to everybody who's going to catch this later on, catch the replay. Appreciate you. Of course, everybody's link is in the description. Make sure you follow these guys. And you know what? Let's just go real quick into the chat. And let's see who's hanging out with us right now so we could get this started. Unruly Simeon, what's going on, brother? Appreciate you. Always hanging out with us. Always a pleasure. Who we got here? We got Digger Jim. What's good, man? Ready to bring it on today. Yeah. You already know. And we got the homeboy Leroy, always hanging out with us. Always a pleasure, my brother. And of course, we got the delinquent in the house as usual. Jason Climbing Comics. What's going on? Gotta watch that guy. A little sketchy. And of course, we have the homie Uncanny Swag with the awesome handle. Love it. And of course, we got another fellow homie that's hanging out with us today. Sove Collector, what's good, my brother? Salute to you. Appreciate you for hanging out with us. And guys, today we wanted to talk. I know me and John have spoken about this prior to this, and this is what kind of sparked the show, as well as Paul. We had this conversation many a time, so I figured it was only right to have Paul hanging out with us, and have John, all 3 of us, and discuss this. And today we're going to be discussing, preference is not personal, in the sense that, if you have a personal preference on how you collect or how you, don't want to collect, it's not a personal attack to another collector who's doing what you are not into, or what you wouldn't like, that's not your thing, So this is what we want to talk about, get into deep. There's a lot of different gray areas too in this, you know what I mean? So it goes all over the place, So it's not like really straightforward. So that's why I'm glad I have these 2 gentlemen over here, hanging out with us, because I definitely wanted to get a lot of different perspectives to this. So I guess, of course, we'll start with you, John. I know we spoke about this. Just to touch on it, what is, like, first of all, how do you feel about when somebody has an opinion that is contrary to yours in the sense of how you collect? What is your basic instinct? What is it, how you would react to that?
So I'll start from like the dad perspective, because I've been trying to like teach my daughters how to collect and how to take care of their books, but it's so easy to like see how they have their own perspective on this. And I try not to be that like harsh dad about it, but like they are readers first. They don't care about the bag and board. Doesn't matter to them. That is not important, right? They just want to have the book. And if they roll over on it at night when they fall asleep, like they're good with that. Like it is not a collectible to them. They like having it in their collection, but they're not viewing it as an investment or anything like that. So I definitely have to learn. I had to learn to kind of bite my tongue when it came to how they treat their books. You know, I've had friends who had legitimate like hate comments and people like unsubscribing because they're like, you don't bag and board every single one of your comics. What's wrong with you? I am out of here. You know, like they were so offended by somebody who's like, I just can't afford bags and boards right now. I just want to be able to read the books. So I'm still buying. I'm waiting. I can only buy bags and boards so often. This guy was dealing with financial challenges. My daughters are dealing with, I don't want to, I just want to read. So like, I have to kind of remind myself, like, it's not my collection. It's not my book, right? If it makes them happy with their book, maybe that's just, I have to let them have it, you know?
Right, exactly. And before we go on, guys, I messed up. We didn't do our cheers. We need to cheers. I'm glad there's more people in the building hanging out with us because it makes this cheer extra special. John, did you bring a drink? Did you have anything?
I brought water. I blew it. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Don't worry about it. We get it. But salute to everybody in the chat. Salute to you guys, as you already know.
Jason.
Yeah, I agree, David. Like comics are meant to be read, and I am fully that way. So like I support my girls with the way they do, but at the same time, I'm always like, okay, but you got the bags. Like I gave you a bag and a board for every comic. Like there's no reason to have a pile of like comics just all around. Like let's clean up your room. So there's that. I have that dad level where it's like part of it is like let's just clean up your room. Like can't have them everywhere.
You know, and Paul, I'll pass it over to you. You know, just a quick take on this, you know, on your initial reaction to someone, you know, having that opinion of that, you know, different to yours, you know, how you collect.
I mean, if you really think about it, though, guys like us, older guys, been collecting a long time. There really was no other way, you know. 30 years ago, we all kind of did the same things. So this is a fairly new, especially with social media, I guess we can kind of see what everybody else is doing. But, you know, obviously I have my opinions on certain things I see a lot of people doing, but, you know, kind of like what John said, at the end of the day, that's their collection, not mine. I just don't like when some people who collect that certain way, they kind of have that air of, I don't know, superiority around them sometimes. So you got to
arrogance.
You got arrogance. But, you know, you know, I mean,
you've already got, I was going to say, Thomas Jackman and Leroy going like 1 piece of tape, 2 pieces of tape. Wow. Like,
I saw that.
So collectors like 1 piece of tape.
1 piece of tape.
It's like, see, these are the things. Like I've seen legitimately huge channels like throw down in their chats because one guy doesn't like how the other guy is like bagging and boarding. Like the bagging and boarding thing is it's serious how people feel.
No, it really is.
You know, it's nice when you look in the box and everything's neat in the box. It's not OCD level, but you know, everything lines up and
you know what I mean? Organized. You got your dividers. You know,
boards. You know, it looks
good. It's a good look. Hold on a second. It's a good look. Shout out to Big Daddy. What's going on, brother? Hanging out with us as always. Appreciate you. But yeah, I'm feeling like, listen, man, you know, I'm one of the first people to be an advocate of how I feel and how when I see something, you know, I'm gonna call it out because to me it doesn't make sense. Like you know, if I see something like it's like, all right, now it's like, you know, like the thing with the gloves, you know, you're like, come on, there's no need to hold your slab with a glove on. Like that is fucking OCD, mental, psychological fucking issues. Like I gotta stop doing the F-bomb. My son, he was watching the show. You're gonna like this, John. He was watching the show with Pharaoh Monch. He was like, Dad, this is awesome. the show was amazing, but you need to cut back on some of those F-bombs, you know. And he was like, you could keep the asshole, the shit, you know, those in there. He's like, but the F-bombs, he's like, that it's like every other sentence with you. And I'm like, you could imagine when I start sipping, it just rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah,
you know. But no, but back to the subject, you know, definitely, guys, like I'm in agreement with both you guys, you know, to each his own, but at the same time, there's nothing wrong with having an opinion. There's nothing wrong with you just saying, hey, this is how I feel, this is what I think, you know. And also what I don't like is when they want to blow smoke up your ass, when it's like, okay, be honest with why you're doing this. Don't, because if we are having an honest conversation, I'm telling you, nah, I'm not doing it for this, and you're telling me, no, I'm not doing it for the money. You know, I got this whole box full of 9/8 because I want to preserve it and, you know, preserve the comic book. And it's like, bro, stop. Like, you know, like, who you bullshit? Like, who you trying to, you know, on a comment, bro? Like, it's not gonna work, you know. And that's my thing. At least own it, like take it in. That's why I love guys like you, John. You know, you guys slab as well. You guys are not afraid to say why you have your slabs. You're not afraid to say, hey, I slabbed this because I want to take care of it, and it's money. You know, I don't want to blow this. It's nothing wrong. I was with Nigel last night. We were hanging out. He came to pick up his book. He won from the raffle, and we were hanging out. We had a great time. And Nigel was just straight up like, I love this guy because he's 100% transparent. He's like, no, man, yeah, I'm a slabber, bro. He's like, man, I slab. Like, I got so many slabs. And then he was like, oh, you had made a post. And he was like, oh, yeah, you triggered me. You know, and that's why I went on there and I commented on it. And I knew that you would see it and you know that you triggered me. And I was like, exactly. And he was like, and anybody who commented on that got triggered. You know what I mean? He was like, you know, and he kept it 100 with me. And, you know, and that's what I love about people like that are just, you know, just keep it honest. Just be honest, you know, why you're really doing this. Like, that's where the issue becomes, because it's like it's identifying. People like want to like identify with like, no, I'm a true collector. I love my books. And it's like, okay, so are you reading them? No, but you know, and it's like, okay, so let's
talk all that investment shit and all that. You already know.
Right. Don't come to me with that. Like, you know, if you want to invest, we talk about Wall Street, you know, Bitcoins, whatever. Don't come to me about books, bro. We could talk about silver, gold, you know, and all that good stuff. But don't.
Well, I think when it comes to that term, like, you're not a real collector, you're not a true collector. That's when I think the line starts to get blurry on people.
Yes, it does. It really does.
You don't need to be a reader to be a collector. Let's just be honest. You can be a collector and not read these books. You can just collect them because you want to collect them. You know, that might mean you're not a true reader or an appreciator of comics, but you're a collector, and that's it. Right. I want to collect. I don't want to read, you know, right? Or inversely, what Paul's saying, you're an investor. You want to invest. And that's fine. You want to be an investor, a comic book investor.
Am curious, though. I would ask somebody who said to me, I just collect. I don't read them. Like, why? Like,
why? Right? What's the purpose?
Like anything, right? I mean, old sneakers, whatever. I mean, I collect shit. I don't read it. I don't have no love for it. I don't care about it. I just want to stack them up in my room. Like, that's how you end up on hoarders, I believe.
You know, exactly.
Right. And those are the questions that same thing I want to know. It's like, so if your interest in the comic book, right, which is the whole purpose of it, is to read it. You know, that's why there's words and pictures, and these writers work hard, up all night, sniffing coke, you know, just like pounding their heads to come up with all these amazing storylines, you know, but to write this stuff just for you to never ever look inside of it, not give a crap about anything of that. Just, I want to have that book. Now you want to know why. If you're not reading it, if there's nothing on the cover, okay, nice cover, great, excellent. You know what I mean? But that's not good enough. Like, why? You got the cover.
If they usually would just reply, because I'm investing. I'm. It's like a financial aspect to it. At least I still think that's lame, but I would at least be like, you know what? At least you, like you were saying, you know, like Nigel as a slab or whatever. I'm not saying this is him, but I'm saying, at least if you just acknowledge what you are, kind of deal. Usually they get sensitive if you try to, I don't know. Like John said, real collector. I guess that's like a divisive term, or that could like trigger somebody.
I think that's the triggering element.
That's
right?
the triggering, right? I get it. But what Paul's trying to say is like you have collectors, but then when Paul had said, there are pure collectors, meaning we purely collect comic books. You know what I mean? For the purpose of what the comic book is for. Meaning to read it, collect it. You go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. If you don't like it, you stop, and then you jump to the next story, and then you read that, and you collect that run. If you're into it, you do the whole run. That's collecting right there. Freaking boom, right there. No money involved, no investing, no nothing, no caring about that. It's just you want the book, you want to read the story, you love the artwork, you're loving it and everything. That is collecting in its true essence of its form, right? Then you have the money involved. That's where now it becomes an investment, and now it becomes more of a monetary value. And then now that substitutes the whole essence of actually collecting it in the first place. Now it starts to substitute that a little bit, and that overtakes it, to some degree.
I was reading what I guess it's Scheme Richards.
Yes.
He's saying real collectors appreciate it for all aspects, reading, art, collecting, the love. And I think that's like what the ideal situation is, right?
Right.
But we're in an environment where there's a whole other thing driving this market, which is like people that just want to own it, right?
Okay.
So that basically didn't start until slabs, correct? Because that could mean a novice who doesn't know anything can look and see like, this says
you could argue that
this says 8.5 on the cover. So when they sell for this price, like it put like defined terms on it. Where back in the day, you'd be like, oh, this is VF. I'm like, it's like fine. Yeah, whatever. We just decided, do I like this book or not? Can I live with this condition or not? Cool, I'll buy it. We'll trade or whatever the deal is. Whereas now, my wife could jump on friggin' eBay and like, type in Open 81 8.0 and like it'll, 50 copies will pop up, and it kind of like takes away. If that's like your driving motivation is like this financial aspect, I just think when you're like been doing it a long time, it just kind of like it's pure collect. Like I'm going to look sideways at you. I'm not saying it's wrong. Do what you want to do is fine. But, that term again, real collectors, like that's not but like I said, Nigel, if you or anybody like him, who's like, Nigel knows his books and he loves his books, but he's very in tune with like the financial, all that DA sales, all that stuff. He's like on top of that.
Right here. This is right here. Like this is my thing. When people say, oh, I got it for that cover. Yeah, but that's Todd McFarlane. That is a hot book. That thing is worth like freaking $200 ungraded. Mm-hmm. So come on, don't tell me like you just got it for the cover. You know what I mean? Like, for me, you got it for the cover is an obscure Power Man and Iron Fist number 56, sick cover by Luis Dominguez. Like, that's why I got it for the cover. And it's $5.99. You could get it at any comic book store for $5.99. Like that, for me, when you say that, I'll be like, boom, you got that for the cover. But if you pulling out, Spider-Man 300 and you're like, yo, this cover though. Like I had to get it for the cover. I'm like, bro, what I look like? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you not selling me that story. Like, you did not get it for the cover. And that's my thing. If people just be like, nah, I got it because it's worth money and I want it because of that, I'll be like, yo, amen to you, brother. You know what? You keeping it real.
And that's definitely been me on several occasions, buying books that I'm like, I wanted this book before it gets hot, and I've never read it. Mm-hmm, but I have like the first Mephisto, Silver Surfer book. Like I bought that book quite a while back, and I was like, I just wanted this book. He's a great Marvel villain. I've never read the issue, and I sent mine off to be slabbed. I've since read it digitally, but I had never read it when I bought it, and I had sent it off to be slabbed just because I wanted that key book. So it was an investment decision. I didn't want to have to pay later I didn't want to like, oh, this is $1,000 book now.
Right. And now if you would have said something different on here, I would have been like, all right, I picked the wrong person to be on this episode. Get out of here. You know what I mean?
I legitimately had never
being
read
honest, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's the problem that people have, is we're honest, because we live in such a cancel culture now, and where everybody's emotional. So the moment they feel some type of way, They're like, oh,
if you got a different opinion, you're divisive.
Right, you're causing division, and it's like nobody's causing
somebody
division.
cancels me for buying Silver Surfer 3, I'm perfectly fine. I win in that discussion.
Listen,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
just as an addendum on that, though, Silver Surfer 3 is a great book with great dialogue by Stan Lee and beautiful.
It's a really good read. Yeah, it was
a
really, but it's the only one in that run that I've read, so I haven't read any of the others.
Listen, it is phenomenal. You got it right.
Like,
phenomenal book, bro. Phenomenal book. Like
through Silver Surfer. So
I know Ian had hit me up.
I hear great stuff, and I enjoyed that one. So I
That
gotta
whole-
get it. I've got the
that
Marvel
whole
app.
run.
I need to just go and power through it.
Yo, that whole entire series was just amazing, man. And I mean, I can't say nothing more about it. Like, even I know Ian, I wanted to say, because I know Ian, I know he's not in here because he wasn't able to catch the show, but I know Ian told me, he was like, man, it breaks my heart every time you guys crack slabs. Now, you got to understand that to crack a slab. Oh, yeah. Well, show it again. We're cracking that this weekend. We're cracking that. What do you got there, buddy?
Strange Tales
127. You know what is cool? What's cool about this book, which it doesn't even say it on the slab, which is
annoying, right?
On CGC.
Oh, CGC.
It's the first appearance of the mindless ones.
That's right.
Which, if you've ever read the arc after that,
this is dope.
Strange Tales 130 to 140 something.
Yeah, that's I'm telling you, man. There's so much great stuff. Just read your damn books, people. Now, one thing also, I'm joining him with this, and this is Ian, because Ian was like, man, you guys break my heart. Well, Ian, I salute to you. I catch you on the replay, but this is what I'm gonna break with my brother right here. You know what I mean? And yeah, and to me, like, it feels like great, like liberating to break these books out of here.
Well, and inversely, one of my closest friends when I got into this YouTube side of things is my buddy TJ. When he goes by the Slab Dragon, and he just posted a picture on his Instagram of he was reorganizing his slabs. He basically says, if it's a raw book that I own, it's not part of my collection until I slab it. I might just give it away. Once I've slabbed it, then I consider it part of my collection. He's ranked on the CGC census in like the mid 70s overall, like number of slabs. The guy has a ton. But the thing you would appreciate, he was a reader and is a reader first. And so he's buying the runs that he loves. Savage Sword of Conan, he is getting that entire run because he just loves the run. And he's read them all many, many times. And he's just collecting the books in a high grade and wants to keep them protected. He feels safe and secure having them in the sealed version. He only reads his books digitally now, but he had read them all as kids. So all of your favorite, he's a Neil Adams junkie. He's read in pretty much anything Neil Adams drew. He read that book. But for him, like, he's like, it's not a book it's not in my collection these days unless it's in a CGC case. That's it.
Okay, that's a little.
Him.
That's right. That's him. That's
his collection.
I wouldn't agree with that. I'll be like,
I joke with him because like
that's
I
crazy.
don't have that many slabs. That
is crazy. Like I've
got less than 50 slabs probably in my collection. Probably in that range, somewhere in that 40 range. But I've got like probably just as many short boxes. I have 40 probably short boxes.
You could join us this weekend. What do you got? I know you got some stuff. Yeah, I know you got this one.
Thing I could crack.
You got this one.
I do not have. No, I don't.
You got this one. I saw that. I know I saw it. We're gonna crack that together. See, my thing is this. This is my thing. Like, when it comes to slabs, that is instant. I don't want to sound like, especially high grade. When you said high grade, it was like, okay, this is about money. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, he wants to collect these runs. That's amazing, beautiful. But
measuring contest. You know what I mean?
Right. There definitely is that element.
Basically, what they are.
Right.
But for him,
Thomas Jackson was like, Morbius is triggered. Yeah, when I heard that all high grade.
That's why I think he's also a little OCD about it. He wants them all to have this number, and have this like think he has this process for himself. So like, he's like, my buddy Chet Scotland, who's got the Uncanny X-Men run. He's got basically the entire run in like a 9.6 or better. The Claremont run, and all of them signed by Claremont and Stan Lee. He's got the full run, and he's like, for him, there's an OCD probably element where I want to hit this target,
of course,
have the full run. But obviously, he's a reader first as well. And now there is an investment side of I don't want to get burnt and miss out on a book, so I'm going to try to buy them early. But for him, it's not a resale thing. He's not looking to sell these books, and neither is TJ. TJ never sells his. He's like, I'm not selling anything. They're going to build me a tomb with all of my slabs and just push me in. That's it.
Well, I can respect that much. You know what I mean? I respect that. He's not trying to flip them and shit.
No, he's definitely not that kind. He doesn't sell anything.
See, it's like Paul. Me and Paul have said that many times. You know, it's nothing wrong with the slabbing. You know what I mean? And exactly. Like, here we go. Hold on.
The signed, yeah.
Hold on. This ain't it. It's It's key
because this is a triggering thing. I know people that are like, you get people to sign your books, get out. Like, I don't want writing on my books.
The only thing that triggers me about this is how can a book be high grade if it's signed by multiple people? All that,
right? See, that's another thing. It's like you're ruining the cover, right?
Signatures don't bother me on books, but I know a ton of people that are triggered.
It bothers me. It depends where it's at, and it kind of bothers me. Like, I prefer it on the inside or the back cover. Like, I don't want it on my cover. I don't want it on my cover.
The old days, that's how the guys did it. Kirby would open it up and they would write on the
on the first page, the first cover page. You do it in there. That's where you wrote. You know, or it was rare you saw it on the back cover, but you always saw it on the inside because guys like us, old school, we did not want our covers damaged, and it's almost like a spit in their face because you're like, dude, you drew this cover. Like, this is like paying homage to you, so I don't want to deface your cover, even if it's your signature. I don't want to deface it. You know what I mean? And that shows how much we cared about the artwork and the cover. Now it's like, fuck that. If I get a signature on it, that's an extra freaking $1,000. So,
that is the money.
You know what I mean? So if I get the signature,
it's a money thing. Though.
It's a money thing. So when I'm not a signature chaser, but
I have some things, you know, but I met the creator. I shook his hand. Chris Claremont, I took a picture with him. Like, it was a personal thing to me. I'm not worried about the money of it. But these people will send a book. That's awesome.
So I met Mike Zeck. I got to go up to him and say, here are some of my. I got this one signed, and I got the Secret Wars Doom cover where Doom is like all shredded. No, I was like, these are my favorite books.
Exactly.
You drew. Man. I'm happy to meet you. I bought these when I was a kid. Like, sign them. Like, I just want.
CGC does those in-house signings. You send your book to CGC. They have Todd McFarlane sign it. They grade it and send it back to you. What is it? Obviously, it's just about the money. You didn't even get to meet.
Of course.
Yeah, and that's why I have never bought a Claremont signature, even though his run on X-Men means a ton to me. It's like my whole YouTube channel these days. But like, I haven't had a chance to meet him, and so eventually one day I'll bring one of my X-Men 94s and just have him sign it and just be like, this means a ton to me to meet you, and this is your first book on the X-Men. He didn't write giant size, those that don't know that. So like, here we go. Like, the 94 signed by Chris Claremont, and it's my book. I'm going to keep it. I'm not giving it to anybody. That book's not going anywhere. I don't need the CGC label. That's just a chance to meet the guy.
You know, and that's just, you know, the argument that we put up is where, you know, it's not about us having a problem, you know, with you being an investor or you looking at comic books with a dollar value. It's the fact that you want to deny that you want to act like, oh no, like, I'm not about that. And it's like, no, right. You're too, just be genuine. Just say, hey, I'm about the money. I'm here to make money. Like, I talked to Ray Steele, man, this brother.
Me and Claremont.
There you go.
So jealous.
Right. You know, so I was talking to Rage, and Rage is a big time seller, you know, and that's a homie right there. Shout out to Rage. You know what I mean? I speak to this brother on a daily basis almost. And Rage is like, he is one of the most genuine people because he's just like Nigel. Reminds me of Nigel, reminds me of you, John, where, you know, the guy is like, hey, I just started a few years ago. I'm cutting the line because you motherfuckers got these catalogs that I don't have. So of course I'm gonna fucking cut the line and come with these grails. You know what I mean? And he was like, and I'm a seller, bro. I collect. Yes, I like my certain books. I'm working on getting more books. But he's like, at the end of the day, if you see me with a 9.8, it's because it's about the money. Like, ain't nobody trying to preserve that shit. He was just like, man, ain't no fuck that. He was like, you know, and I spoke to him and he told me I could use his name. I could say this stuff. You know, we had this conversation. He said, bro, put it out there, because he was like, man, I feel the same way as you, that if you out here flossing 9.8s, complaining about a 9.6 that it wasn't a 9.8.
All the time.
It's about the money. Don't tell me
crazy.
that you, oh no, I want a 9.8 because I want the best preservation of this book. Like, stop it. No, you don't. Just be real with me. Just keep it honest. I won't see you no other way because I got love for John. I got love for Nigel. I got love for Theo. And these are like heavy, guys who got slabs.
With very different styles of collecting. Each one of them very different in the methods that they're using.
Right, methods of collecting. But the fact that you guys are honest about how you collect is where it to me, that's what it's about. I don't care about your YouTube status. I don't care about if you got how many subscribers, how many followers you have. Like, a lot of people have this tendency to follow, other people's opinion because they have this. And it's like,
that goes back to the dick measuring contest.
Right. It is a dick measuring contest. You know what I mean? And to us, we need to realize that it's not about that, man. It's about being genuine about your books, being genuine about who you are and how you collect. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just be real with yourself, and you won't come up with these, with people like me that's gonna be like, bro, you fronting on here. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, I get that, like the dishonesty, or at least
Simeon said, someone who reads and loves comics and wants to make money. Can't you be both?
Yeah.
No. And I would say you can, but
you can too, but it's a thin line, man.
The pure, real, whatever other terms you want. Because once you bring money into anything,
that's it.
It's a different ball games.
Right.
For sure.
It changes everything. You
have to prioritize something for sure. If you're doing this as a hustle straight up, then that is going to probably rank above your joy.
Let me put it like this. Right? They got fine china, right? You got fine china, right? If I take a little bit of mud, right, and put it in the mix of that ceramic, and I start making this plate, are you still gonna consider it fine china? Is it still going to be that quality and that purity of being fine china? No, it's going to be tainted. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. What I'm saying is own up to it. You know what I mean?
How about this perspective, which is like, can you appreciate what you're doing when money is involved? So let's talk about like any occupation, right?
Yeah.
Is your job something you enjoy if you weren't making money, right? Like, where does the money play into that? So in this way, is this hobby still a hobby that you can like enjoy and appreciate the stories and comics
if you're obsessed?
If the hustle is what you're doing primarily,
yeah,
and that's it's a tricky balance. And I agree, it's a fine line, but I do think it's totally possible. I have sold books, not mostly just because I need freaking room and I can't store them anymore. But I get it. I get the need to like purge and sell stuff.
No, that's understandable.
But it's not my hustle. Like, it's not my game.
It's not.
I do it as a necessity, not necessarily as like
You don't have a whatnot app, and you're not on whatnot. You don't got this whole, No, I'm just kidding. Shout out to everybody who's on whatnot, man. But
I have a whatnot, but it's for buying, not selling.
Exactly, me too. I'm just there to support Rage, man. That's all. I used to follow the money in comics heavily, but it started taking away from the joy that brought me to the books initially. And that's, shout out to Albert, who
basically he's reiterating in a roundabout way the comment we saw earlier, which is like people saying they prefer to read in trades now. And I am legitimately in that place in my collecting where I'm not really hunting a ton of books anymore. And I'm finding a lot more joy in comics from buying trade paperbacks and trying things in collected forms, so that it's back to the fun of just good stories and reading, whether that's indies, like those $9.99 image trades you can just like power down, or whether it's going back and getting these, those omnis, those bigger collections of like, I've read these a bunch, I want to read them more. Like, I'm going to buy.
There's like certain omnis I want. They are.
Sure,
of course, X-Men, you know what I mean?
I have a lot of trades and stuff and collected editions.
Yeah, definitely want them, man. But like, I'm a big single issue guy. It's just because of how I grew up and how I started. And that's a big thing, guys. If you just got into this 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, everybody has a different, way of how they came in or introduced into these comic books. Like, I wasn't introduced into CGC, neither was Paul, neither was John. You know what I mean? But then we all had different perspectives on it as we went along in our collection. You know what I mean? But some of us stayed like, hey, I'm not messing with that. Some of us did. But at the end of the day, I think that there's nothing wrong with that. We can sit here, have this debate, right? But you're not going to cancel me, John. I'm not going to cancel you. You know what I mean?
Or like when I came across Gem Mint and I had not bought a single omnibus, and I see this guy and he's just like, all he collects is omnis.
Crazy.
And I'm just like, it's not how I would collect, but I'm fascinated by what he's doing and how he's doing it, right? I'm not going to cancel him just because he's not doing it the way I'm doing it.
The way I'm doing it, right. And if you don't like it or you're not interested in it, what do?
I just don't follow him. I just don't
follow. Right, exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that.
And legitimately, I've done shows with Gem Mint. I do not subscribe to him. I don't. You know what I'm saying? And that's
okay.
I mean, he's really interesting. I think I love when every once in a while I'll watch one of his like statues when I'm like, holy crap, that's $1,000 statue. I wish I could buy that. That's amazing. But I don't need that temptation in my life. So I try to avoid those channels.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I respect the guy's hustle. I'm not into statues. Yeah, I'm not into that. So I'm not subscribed to him. I'm not gonna be watching those videos. You know, why would I put myself in that position where it's like I'm not interested in that? Now, I'm not interested in that because that's not my hobby. It's not because he sat there and said, yo, those Raw guys, you know, suck. And that's another thing that we were talking about.
He's not a hater, right?
Right. And it's not even about, that's not even being a hater. That's not even being a hater. That's just having your opinion. That's just you having your stance and your truth and what you believe in, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said in my video, if people didn't have opinions, we still would be hanged from trees. You know what I'm saying? And it's deep, right? Oh, it's deep. Like, you think about it. Like, somebody, if nobody stood up and said, you know what? I want to sit in the front of the bus. Like, I'm tired. Like, my opinion thinks like I'm no different than you, and I have the right to sit in. That's my opinion. So I'm gonna sit in the front of the bus, and I don't give a damn what y'all feel. Like, this is what I'm gonna do. So if nobody had opinions and nobody had different thoughts and perspectives, we would not be progressing in this country. We would not be where we at right now. So I feel that these are things that need to be had. And need discussed. To have a forum for discuss. There's nothing wrong with this. The problem is when we get emotional and we get stuck in our feelings and we have our ego get involved.
Triggered.
We get triggered. And all of a sudden it's like, I don't want nothing to do with this person because I don't agree with their agenda.
Yeah, I think it's when someone else's opinion feels like it's being foisted upon you.
Right.
Or vice versa, when you're foisting your opinion on somebody else. Because, you know, I you know, if you want to get to the bagging and boarding thing, like there's a similar side to on the Pops collectibles, right? Those people that love Funkos who are like, you got to keep, not only do I have to buy this, but I can't take it out of the box. And I got to buy another plastic box to store this box to protect that box. And I remember the first video I got Pops and my daughters were like, that's a toy. Like, let's play with it. And I was like, sure. And I ripped it out of the box, gave it to them. And there were triggers. There were people triggered, like legitimate triggers, like freaking out. Like, how do you open that? That's a collectible. And I'm like, because it's a toy. I want my kid to play with it, just like it's a comic, and you want to be able to read it.
I want to read it.
I get both sides. I'm not hating on people that want to put their slab in a special protective plastic sleeve because that's going to protect the plastic.
That goes back to what Morbius was saying about handling the slab with glove.
Well, look at this right here. Look at this. Not all opinions are valid. Either that's a distinction worth noting. Okay.
Yeah, not all opinions are valid, but certainly when it's your money in your collection, Pops, comics, slabs, whatever.
Listen,
you do you, as long as you're just being honest about what you're trying to do and how you're storing it.
Right now, what Modern Lit was trying to say is basically this, which is what we do. You know, if your opinion is not valid in the sense where it doesn't make sense to you, then keep it moving. You know what I mean? You just like, okay, you like they say, you swipe left. Like, okay, keep it moving. I don't want nothing to do with that. That opinion does not, resonate with me. So I'm just gonna keep going. And that's what pretty much what I do in the sense where, but at the same time, there's no disrespect. There's no There's no malice, is
Right.
what I'm trying to project.
Yeah, there's no hate. There's no
hate.
There's no shade or hate.
There's no right. There's no shade. We could sit here and talk about this all day with anybody. I could sit here with anybody on any platform, and we could have this discussion. And at the end of the day, I'm gonna be like, you know what? If you respect me, I'll respect you.
So let me there's my buddy who posted this video where he was like, I can't afford bags and boards right now, so here are my comics, and he's like got them in his bag, and he got like two groups of people. One group that's like, good on you, like trying to keep up with reading, and let me help you out. And then other people that were like, I can't watch your channel, like I don't see the bags of like you need these books bagged and boarded, you're driving me crazy. And then there was people like my buddies who were like sending him extra bags and boards in an AOK. We're like, here,
wow,
like let me hook you up, man. I totally understand. I've been there myself.
You see, and that's awesome.
And it's less about like criticizing somebody for collecting differently or doing what they can.
Right. It's not about, that's the thing. It's people take, an opinion as criticism, but criticism, you got to understand, that comes from a deep rooted, stance where a person comes from. So if you tell me you have a problem with the way I collect, I will never have a problem with that. Like, if you're like, yo, bro, you need to, trust me, Rage gets on my ass. He'd be like, yo, you need to grade that fucking Gambit. You need to grade that Mephisto. You need to grade that. Why the fuck you not grading these books? And I tell him, because that's not how I function. That's not how I collect. And he's like, you know what?
He wants you to get all those slabs though,
because he knows I'm chasing, Hulk 181, and he was like, hey, if you just
slabs do help. The slabs do help with like trade,
right? Because that is the most peak. That is the most you could get out of a book if you slab it based on the way it's designed now. Where CGC has cornered that, or grading has cornered the market, where in the sense that what they tell you, if they say this book is worth this, is worth
right.
this much money, and you could get the most out of this book based on its grading and its condition, which is understandable. I get it. I just don't abide by it because to me, there's no standard. It's I don't agree with it because it just there's so many flaws in that. What I mean?
He's so amped up right now. Look at him.
Right. There's so many flaws in that I just cannot. I don't agree with it because, I could point and people say, yeah, you could pick and choose a lot of things, but you got to understand, these people exist because you keep feeding the monster. You keep feeding that monster. He's going to keep doing whatever he wants to do.
Slabbers like prop up the whole slab thing, right? Because they have such an investment in it that they almost have to keep it, like you or me are not going to keep it going. I buy slabs, yes, when I score them for a cheap deal, like cheaper than a raw copy, say, or equal. But if other slab guys who, like, someone just did a video recently, I won't mention the name, I was catching it because it was talking about all these dips in books that dived, and some of the books were significant. I was just like, wow, who was the guy that paid? Like, some of the books were like 70% down, like $7 or $8 grand. I was like, who was the guy that bought it at that peak?
And when you buy it at the peak and then the market goes a little down,
man, he killed himself. I mean, maybe he's got plenty of money, so he can eat that. I can't eat a $6 grand loss, but maybe he can. But it just was like.
But if you're not going to resell it, then there is no loss, right? It is what it is. It's just
I would say he took it on the chin so bad. I mean, maybe he should have just found like a suitable ball. Like, in other words, if you're overpaying, like, see Professor Horton on here, he David Thomas, he spoke earlier about his books.
Yep.
We'll tell him he gets slabbed. I will tell you right now, that dude has books. I don't care who you follow on IG.
I don't give a fuck who you following, bro.
He's got them in his back pocket.
Yep. And they all like
all his shit is raw.
White pages, bro. This man is like
raw. So I bet people do reach out to him and like, what are you doing? His AF-15 is beautiful. His X-Men 1, his FF1, like, to a slab guy, like, their gears are turning already,
Right. Their brain is like, that's money.
He's not like that. He don't collect for the money aspect of it.
So the other flip side I wanted to mention on the slab thing, as far, I know this is not a slab discussion, it's really a how do you collect discussion.
Right.
Basically. I remember I'm going to struggle to remember which YouTuber did the video
backstage.
But yeah, welcome to Club No Good. But he was talking about how he does not sell his books. This YouTuber was saying, like, I don't sell my books. These books are for me and for eventually for my family. He's like, but I do know that when I die, the large majority of my collection will be sold. And I wanted to make sure certain books were slabbed so that when they sold them, they could get a fair market price and not be stuck with like, well, I don't know the grade. I don't know how to grade. I'm just going to take it to a shop and get like 20% of the value of these books.
Inevitable. It's inevitable because me and Paul actually just had this conversation earlier today.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
You know, because when you die, your family members are going to take over that. Now, you already know your wife, your children, your aunt, uncle, whatever, are not educated and are not passionate and have not put in that work that you put in for fucking 50, 60 years, putting this collection together. And you know what they're going to do? You got a collection that's worth like $500,000, right? Let's say, you know, easy. We could do that right here. 40 years, we could say 40 to $500,000, right? Let's just say.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
I love it. It sounds amazing. I know Paul and I are like, yeah.
Hold on. I know I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean? That does feel good, right, guys? But anyway, let's just say that's something that we was talking about, that you have to make sure in your will, in the way that you insure your comics before you pass, before you get to, when you know you like at that point, you have to get your comics insured. You have to go through the process. You got to make sure you're clear in your will on how you want to dividend and how you want to break down your comic books, you know, and how it should be handled.
Yeah.
You know, because these people have no clue on the value, and you have all this money and they're going to be like, you know what? I'll take 10 grand. Take the whole collection, 10 grand. And you got a $300,000, $400,000 collection. And you're like, yeah, I'll take 10 grand for it because, you know, to you, 10 grand, woo, that's a lot of money.
Well,
you have no clue about it.
My wife's been to enough shows with me to know the value. Because she'll be like,
well,
he wants 8 grand for that book. Don't you have it? And I'm like, So,
well, you know,
to me, so she'll be dealing with these books once I'm pushing up.
You're a rare few, my brother.
Yeah, I know my wife has no idea.
Unfortunately, I'm not in that boat. You know,
she definitely
feel like,
would struggle with that.
Right. When we're not here, people are going to take advantage of our loved ones to get to our books. So that's something that I also wanted to talk about, that guys, protect yourself. You know what I mean? Get your stuff insured, you know, before you pass, man.
But back to some of that, though, like what John was saying, though, sometimes I feel like I want to push back on that because it's always this.
I love it. Yeah.
Like I've cracked open, God knows, 50 slabs. And my Giant Size X-Men 1, my Hulk 181, I've done pretty big books. Yep. And it's like, the thing is, why is this like this perception that because I cracked it out, it's fucking worthless now? Like it's like
right, it's not worthless, guys.
My Hulk 181 is still like VF. It's still a nice book. Like it's not table scraps now because
listen,
cracked
you know what I mean? Like you're still gonna make your money, and at the end of the day, it's cool, it's great. It's like I said, it's a cherry on top that the books that you picked up because you love them.
I never wanted a book because it was expensive.
Right.
I didn't have them. Not why I wanted them.
Right. You know what I mean? And it's like, and it's a cherry on top when you have a book that actually ends up being valuable. You're like, that's amazing. Great. You know, like, you know, we're not stupid. We're not gonna act like we're oblivious to that. Like, oh no, we don't care about money.
You got books worth money, but that's.
No, I think there's a difference between like
buying
strictly for investment versus knowing what your comic collection is worth and being careful with it because of that. You know how you treat your things. Ragin Cajun says, "I'll write it down in a book and give it to info." So JD, like,
more put me in control of your estate, and PJ, you take control.
There you go. Everybody takes care of everybody else. Is this like
we take care of each other, brother? We take care of each other, you know. And at the end of the day, you know,
a secret phone number for my wife to call if I ever perish.
Dial this number immediately.
Dealers and stuff, so
they'll all show up and just throw a garage sale. They'll all be there.
Oh. Paul passed away. What happened to his books? Yeah, I mean, it's just how it is. It's You know, these dealers are, you know, they kind of predatory in some degree.
Right. They're gonna come hunting in, you know, and you know, regardless, forget that. You know, let's get back to.
And I don't think what I wasn't trying to imply that like because it's not in a slab, it's not worth anything.
No, that's not you. I mean,
no. It's the idea that I think a slabbed book when a loved one's going to sell it, it has a consistency of like I can say I don't know how to grade. I'm just a novice. Like it says on it, like, and that's what you're really selling, right? Is the grader's integrity, which, as we know, can be very inconsistent, right? Like I did a whole video on. I did a video on 9.6 versus 9.8, and sometimes that disparity is ridiculous. And
I completely agree.
Did the grader get laid last night? No, I got a 9.8. Like,
but what I want to know is why is so much stock and money put into?
Listen,
like he was basically saying.
I was watching Coffee and Comics. Shout out to Coffee and Comics. And he has sent out a lot of books. He got a lot of books back, and literally, the book was the wrong label. It was one book. The label was totally different, and it happened to 2 books he got. And what happened was that each book got mislabeled.
Oh, they swapped the labels?
They swapped the labels on the same book, you know, and
that makes it ultra rare, right? Now you can sell it for even more.
It's an error, right? It's an error. It's an error. You know, and this happened to him, and these are things that, you know, why we feel that, you know, it's like, hey, you know, there's no standard there. It's a pretty much, you know, it's a how can I say it? Like, you could tell somebody so much, right? You could tell somebody, hey, from this inch to this inch, it's a spine take. From here to here, it's another, you know, this is it. But at the end of the day, it's your own perspective. It's your own, you know, and a lot of it, and people don't understand this. Some people go to work, they're fucking annoyed, they're upset. They just found out their lady was chilling with Malik. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just some crazy.
You know how it is. You're having a bad day and you don't do your best work. A lot of things
can happen, bro. They just, right? You know what I mean? So they got hit with the credit card. They're about to pay some stuff. Yo, a lot of things happen, and they go grade a comic emotionally.
Yep.
They're there with the emotions, dude. You know what I mean? And they ain't trying to work. They like, yo, whatever, bro. Like,
I remember a YouTuber, and I it might have been Tom. I can't remember, but somebody did a video about Emerald City Comic-Con one year. Was it Tom? I think.
About
and basically just
graders they had and how many.
He was trying to math out, how many graders were at the convention, how many books were dropped off because they all were trying to turn them around in 2 days. And he's like, how much time would they spend grading each book? And how many people could have looked at each book? And it was a bit eye-opening and very disappointing to really look at the nitty-gritty of that process.
They were grading a book in like 2 minutes, like per average. And it was like maybe a modern, but how are you going to grade a Golden Age book in 2 minutes?
Exactly.
That fast.
Pages, you got to be careful opening each page. Like it's virtually impossible. And they said there was a bunch of 10-0s that came out of that, right? Or something like that.
Or inversely, you know, you could get dinged for stuff because it's so quickly done. Like, I
feel like from knowing some slab type guys, their impression is if you go to that on-site grading, you're gonna get like a better grade because they're like you were
they're speed grading.
They're rushing, they're pressure. There's a line in front of them.
It's like you want them to take your time. Take your time, bro.
Also add, speaking of another pet peeve of mine, that video is scrubbed from Tom's. You won't find that on there.
Oh, it's gone now?
Because he's in bed with CGC now. So just an FYI. If you're going to look for that video, it's no longer exists. But I did watch it. I'm glad you watched it too. Because crazy.
I missed that one.
That's got to be like 3 years old at this point.
Yeah, it was a while back.
That was before I got in the comic community. I've only been in here 2 years, man. So I haven't been on that long, man.
But I think I remember when 2 guys were beefing, big channels were beefing about like a guy made a video on how to bag and board. He's like, this is what I do. This is why I choose these bags. This is how I tape. This is what I do. And another YouTuber lost their shit, man. They were just like,
listen, I'm gonna keep it 100 right here, man. I don't give a fuck how many tapes you use, what you use.
And I was like, this is what we're beefing about? Like,
that's fucking mundane shit.
Just click the thumbs down and move on to the next video. What's wrong?
Yeah, exactly. Like, keep it.
Somebody's making a response video to a how to bag and board video.
Bro, you know what that means, right? Like, yo, get
too much time on your hands is what it means.
Exactly. Too much time on your hands. Go get a lady. Go do something. You know what I mean? Like,
listen, I have a theory about all of this stuff. If you think about it, right? Back in the day, we just wanted to get the books. I'm talking late 80s, mid 80s into the 90s. No internet, no eBay, no usable internet. You know, so we only got books at either stores we went to, local shows we went to. Wizard would tell us which books to go hunt, but still, you had to go hunt for it. I think the problem nowadays, it's so easy to basically get any book that collectors, like you basically were saying, they just got too much time on their hands. So it's like, I can get whatever book I want. I just jump on my phone, I type in eBay, I type in whatever grade I want, blah, 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 and I get the book. Like, I need something else to differentiate me. Okay, we're going to come out with slabs. So then we got to that. We went through that phase. And now it's like, how many pieces of tape are you using on your bag? You know,
which kind of bag? And
exactly. There's too much time on collectors' hands now because we didn't have these issues back in the day because we were, too busy hunting books down and trying to find.
Right, we were too busy actually collecting comic books. That's my damn point.
Finishing high school or whatever.
You know what I mean? Like, we were just collecting comic books. Like, that's what it was about. You picked up the book. You wanted to continue the sequence of the numbers. You was reading the story. You loved the artist. That's what it was about. You just wanted
paperbacks back then. You had to find the issue. You want to know how the saga ends? You got to dig them out.
You got to dig them out. You got to go hunt that shit down.
Story. You couldn't figure out how the story ended without hunting down that one issue.
You got to hunt that shit down. If you was on the bus stop, rainy day, you hiding the books under your under your hoodie. Not to get them wet, or you getting on the train and then some story. Like, to me, that's the best part about collecting. When I talk to collectors that are like, purely collecting, they just been doing it for so long, and they're like, oh yeah, I remember that book. I remember when this happened and this and this, and you're like, yeah, I got a similar story, but this is what happened to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And to me, that's what collecting is all about. And I think that, at some point that was lost, and that's why we are doing what we're doing and saying what we're saying, because we were living that time, and it's hard for somebody who didn't live that, who wasn't in that moment, to understand that. And I get it. If you started this 10 years ago, it was about money. You know what I mean? Like, CGC was hard.
It was like too late already.
Yeah, it was too late already. So you're not gonna come into this with that appreciation that we have, where the books are bigger to us than the actual monetary value.
Which I think is why the sort of slow death of run collecting is real.
Right.
I think there's fewer and fewer people that care about that, because there are so many ways to get those collected stories now that you don't need to hunt down that one issue of Savage Dragon, because if I want to read it, I can read it digitally. I can download the whole run,
or I
can buy trade paperbacks or whatever.
I'm just going to cherry pick all the keys out of a run, and I don't
and I think key collecting is the way of today, and run collecting is the way of the past, because of all of those things.
With dinosaurs, Morb.
And I know Morbius, we've talked about this a ton. The idea of like, I really know I've found a kindred spirit in this comic book world when I find out what runs are they collecting. Do they collect any runs? Which runs have you completed, or are you trying to complete? Because it's funny, you connect to people when you're like, wow, I didn't know you had read that same run. I love that run.
Right, I love that run. And to me, like what Scheme is saying right here, the thrill of the hunt, man. Like, remember what you had to go through to get these books is why we collecting. Yeah. And I think that's important. We have to reflect on that, because people say, oh, well, we're all passionate. No, you got to understand that your emotions are clouding you. I hate to say it, like sound like Star Wars, but you know, in the Jedi, your emotions will cloud you because, you know, and emotions are deceitful, which is in the Bible, you know, in Proverbs, you know, your emotions are deceitful because, you know, and your heart will lie to you because you think your emotions are the truth. Your emotions are not the truth, you know, and you could be passionate about something, but that doesn't mean that you're genuinely doing it because of the passion. The passion is actually passionated by money. You know what I mean? It's not, you know, a passion because you want to read it. You want to immerse yourself in the story and forget what's going on around you for just half an hour, for just 20 minutes. You just want to forget what's going on around you. You want to get into the story. You want to read about it. You want to get to the next one. You're chasing that book because you're wondering, okay, you left me on a cliff note. I'm hanging. I want to know what happened next. You know, and I get that, whether you go trade paperback, whatever. The point is this is why we got into this. So when somebody tells me, hey, we're passionate, I get it. You are passionate, but you got to remember where your passion is based on. You know what I mean? If your passion is based on the fact that you got this 9.8 and you're passionate about, hey, I got this because you know you got $5,000. But do you have it because you got this completion to your story, your run? You know, and you read the story and now you know what's coming next and you completed it. You went from 38 to 39 and you're like, holy shit, I just got 20 more to go. I complete this, I read it, boom, I'm done. Off to the next one. And that's why I say that there's a difference between collecting and collector. I hate to say this, guys, but there is a difference because when you are collecting, yes, we are all collecting. We all collect, but we all have different reasons why we collect. And at the end of the day, it's okay. If you want to collect because you want to read a little, dabble a little and invest, or you just want to invest, or you just want to read, and you just want to complete runs, that's okay. But be honest with yourself and make sure that you know why you're doing it, and you project that. And people will resonate with you when you are honest with yourself. But when you are not honest with yourself, it comes off a different way, and it's misleading to people like us who are genuine. And I'm gonna say it. I don't care how y'all feel about it. Pure collectors, in the sense that we purely collect in the essence of reading, collecting, completing runs, and we are chasing artists and characters that we love, that we've always loved, and we follow them without any influence of economic value. That's why I'm gonna say you have pure collectors. In that sense, like you have connoisseurs, you have painter connoisseurs, you have connoisseurs, people who just want to invest in that, in the sense that they just want to immerse themselves in that world. And there's nothing wrong with that, guys. That's why I'm leading into this. I know it's a long segue, but I'm leading into this in the sense that where there is nothing wrong with feeling that way. With somebody saying, this is what I feel, this is what I do, this is what I love. I've been doing this for 35 plus years. I love this shit. You know what I mean? You got brothers like PJ, 40 plus years. You got you, another 30 plus years. You know what I mean? And we all have different ways of collecting. But at the end of the day, we know why we're doing it. Right? We know why we're doing this, and we still read our books. You with your daughters, me with my daughter. My daughter came in today, John, Paul. Oh my God, I lost my shit. My daughter came in today. I'm not lying to you guys. She came in today and she said, Papi, I love your comic books.
It's awesome, man.
And I said, you know, I told my wife, I said, all right, let's go work on the lawyer, call the will. We got to rewrite this shit. I got to work this out. You know what I mean? She's getting all my books. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it was emotional to me when she walked in and said, Papi, I love your comic books. You know, that resonated with me in such a way where it was like, you know what? That's what it's about. You know what I mean? You just want to read them, right, baby? And she's like, yep. She's like, I want to learn about the characters. I want to. She has no clue about monetary value. That's how we all started.
My girls know that it exists because they look at some of my books and like, is that one worth money? Like, is that they get the it's like abstract, but for them that doesn't interest them. Like the stories are way, which is fun, like to see what they're interested in, because I'm not forcing X-Men on them or whatever. Because half the time they're like, I don't like. I did my last video with Kate. She was like, I don't like the X-Men as much as I like, you know. So what the, you know, but that's her. Like whatever, she's
that's
into
her
thing.
opinion, right? That's how she feels.
And you know, my youngest is like, she would read Archie over anything. Like it doesn't matter. Like you give her anything else, but no, Archie first. You know, that's just what she wants to read. She likes the characters, she likes the stories, and that's where it started for her. Hey, we mentioned you earlier, brother.
Yeah, brother. Salute. You know, and I, you know, commend it. That's why me and you get along so much, because you have children. I know PJ also has a, you know, PJ Jr. and you know, and we all
very PJ, with the value of books, by the way.
Right. And PJ is a collector. You know what I mean?
Yes, he's got his own GI Joes and comics.
Right. He's his own entity. You know what I mean? Which is awesome. You know. And it has nothing to do with, it's just the immersing of himself into this reality where it's like, I could get lost in this, you know what I mean? And it brings us back to that. When we were kids, when I see my kids, you see your kids, you're like, yes, I was there, where you just totally like, you're in another world, you know? And that's why we started this. And I feel like the money really tainted a lot of this, and that's why I wanted to have this discussion. That guys, that so what? Who gives a shit what John cares? Who gives a shit what PJ, what I care? It's not about that.
They do care. Here's the thing, going back to something me and Morb quick talked about a few times, several times. It's generally not to keep hopping on like slabs with her, but they do seem to be the root of all evil. Anyway, it always goes back to that though. It's like those guys who collect like that, if you do kind of speak like we've been speaking, they get very like defensive and
of
like,
course.
But they can't, it's not like they can't do it to me or us. Like there's no way you can say anything about the way I collect. Like, okay, like I don't give a shit.
Whatever.
Books are all raw. Yes, they are.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
So we wouldn't have that type of feeling. And I always feel like the reason they respond that way is because there's a little part of them inside that knows I'm right. What I'm saying is there is like a pure form of collecting if all you're doing is stacking slabs. I mean, there's always, you know, outliers or whatever. You said the TJ guy. I mean, he's an older dude. I'm sure he's been collecting forever. He's probably read all the books.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I mean, it's you know, only a Sith. We talked about it earlier. So I'm not saying everybody, but
no, I get what you're saying. I wear a T-shirt every once in a while that says 9.4 is near mint. And on the back it's got the whole grade CGC grading scale, and it breaks down what each grade is called, and because legitimately a 9.4 is a near mint comic book. Like if you want a near mint comic book, a 9.4 qualifies, right? The obsession with 9.8s. But my buddy who makes that shirt, White Whale Comics, is very disillusioned with collecting in the last year or two, because he just feels like for him it's not the slabbing, it's just the speculation in general. Like the indulgence on key collecting and speculating has robbed the hobby of a lot of joy for him. He is a reader first kind of guy, but he also has like characters that he loves, and he's, you know, he got his first copy, he got a Bone #1, right? The Jeff Smith series Bone. He got an issue. He's got 2 copies of it now, but he's like, I would not be able to buy those books today. And he's like, that hurts me, because there's lots of characters I'd love to buy, Usagi Yojimbo or whatever. He's like, he's an indie guy first. So he loves, you know, indie comics first and foremost. But for him, it's like, it robs, he's like, I can't really collect anymore. Like I'm at the place in my life where I can't, like, like monetarily, like, I would have to save all year and maybe I could get one book, because the prices of books have gotten so insane. This is like a market for the 1%ers. It's a harder market for people that just want to enjoy collecting, because I love that run of whatever it is. Strangers for him, it was Stranger. He's a huge Strangers in Paradise fan. So Terry Moore, like getting stuff from Terry Moore, but he's like, those books are getting very expensive.
Yeah,
It's kind of like you said
definitely-
earlier, though, about the like you mentioned, like you're only kind of looking for like specific, but like you're not just trying to buy up everything. Like you have a
Right.
narrow focus, and I feel like I'm like that. Like, but going back to what you just said, unfortunately, this narrow focus I have right now is all like I want to journey to Mystery 85 and like books like that, and they blew up. It's just, it's like out of reach now. You know, it's
Totally.
kind of sad, sucks, but.
Yeah, it's been hard on like guys like us, you know, raw guys, because everything is getting slabbed. You know, everything is like, you know, because it's about trying to get the bang for your buck. Get it? I'm not gonna hate. I understand, but at the end of the day, it does suck. You know, because everything is going up. You know, and everything is getting slabbed. Literally, everything is getting slabbed, and you know, and I get it. I understand, but. You know, I know we're like 10 minutes past the hour. We have been having a great conversation, you know, a great time, you know, and I think that at the end of the day, the point I was trying to get across, you know, with doing this episode was that it's okay to have a difference of opinion. It's okay because we all started this at different levels. We all came into this at different times of our lives, you know, at different eras, you know, like.
And
like
you're collecting changes in those eras as
in those
well.
years,
like
exactly.
How you hunted and what you wanted.
Right. You know,
always grows
everything, everybody is different. So, but we need to have these discussions because if we don't have these, my thing is this, we need to stay reality based. You know, in reality, not everyone gets along. Not everyone has the same idea. Not everything is perfect. So when you want to try to create a community where everything is perfect, you're going to cause chaos. You know, because it's not, that's not realistic. You know, and we need to be realistic about things. And I'm very realistic. I wear my heart on my sleeve, if you haven't noticed. You know, and I speak what I feel in the sense that I'm not saying that I am the all-knowing, but one thing I'm going to tell you is that I'm going to tell you what it is that is on my chest, you know, and I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat shit and tell you what I think you want to hear just to make you feel good. Because at the end of the day, it's not about, you know, it's about what I think and not about how you feel, because what you feel that's personal. That's on you. You know what I mean? You need to figure that shit out. You know, and I'm not trying to insult you. I'm just saying this is how I feel. And if, like we said, if you tell me how you feel, I'm not gonna take it. I'm gonna be sitting here like, okay, let's talk about it. You know what I mean? Let's have a discussion about it. That's why I started the show, to have these type of discussions. And at the end of the day, we could sit here, shake hands, and bro, John, I see you. I'm gonna love you.
I got my 9/8 right behind me just for the show.
And how many times I don't like your post. I comment on your. I show you.
But
love.
I'm also the only guy who's gonna slab a Megaton man.
Yeah, that's
you know what I'm saying, bro. You need to crack that. Hold on a second.
I actually have a raw. I have a raw copy too. I got a raw copy.
Oh, all right,
I got one of each.
I
bought 3 of these.
If that would have been your only copy, I would have been.
I had 3 of them.
Just get a raw.
I'm reasonable. I'm reasonable.
I gave away one of them to a buddy who loves Savage Dragon like me. That's like his first time appearing in like an actual mainstream comic book. So I was like, but nobody wants that book. Nobody's hunting for that book but me and my buddy. And I was like, I found 3 of them. I'm like, I'm buying all this. I'm buying all of them. My LCS owner's like, really? You want it? That's okay. Sure. Here you go.
All right. Now, hopefully nobody gets FOMO and starts chasing for that book now. Or
yeah, see, you started it.
You started something, John. Now everybody's going to start chasing the book.
I got a spare, but I'm not selling it.
You might show up in No Way Home.
Right? Yeah. Hey, everybody's in that freaking movie, I bet.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, all I'm saying is Spidey should have listened to him. That's all I got to say. No spoilers, but I'm just saying.
Right. No spoilers, guys, because you remember that time when Spidey was swinging through these. I ain't even gonna guys. All right, guys. Once again, thank you so much. We 13 minutes past the hour. That means that we had a great show today. Shout out to everybody who was hanging out with us in the chat. Shout out to everybody who's catching the replay right now. We appreciate you. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, follow these brothers because their link is in the description.
Get over to the swag store for Morbius and get some sweet. I got 3 Morbius t-shirts. 3
Morbius t-shirts. Yo, shout out to John, man. Appreciate
They're not all.
you,
I got several different designs, so I'm gonna like string that out. The review.
Oh, but I'm excited. I can't even wait, brother. I can't even wait.
If you look at the picture of me and my girls going to see No Way Home, I'm wearing one of your shirts in
Yep,
that too.
I saw that. I saw that. Shout out to you, my brother. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
PJ, shout out to you. You already know. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you so much, man. And once again, guys, you already know. Comic release episode 40. Oh, yeah, real quick. I'm not going to be doing an episode next week. I'm going to be taking a break. It is the new year. I got family coming. You know, I got the week off, so I'm going to enjoy it. And guys, I hope you enjoy it. Happy holidays to everybody. I hope you have a great holiday. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, all that good stuff. Y'all already know how we do. This is Comic Relief. Peace.